Welcome to the Health Buzz Podcast with Dr. Cindy Ross, PhD. Many medical doctors refer their patients to Dr. Cindy for natural medicine therapies focused on balancing nutrition, vitamins, lifestyle changes, and other natural health approaches.
Good morning. This is Cindy Ross with the Health Buzz Podcast, and I have a dear friend of mine, Heather O'Shea, as our guest today. Heather and I actually go back 20 plus years. I was trying to think about how long we've known each other, and what's funny is a very dear friend of mine many years later, I found out it was her cousin, and it was funny because it was like such a small world. And Heather's been in my life and in my circle of friends for absolutely over 20 years. So Heather, I was actually on your bio this morning, just kind of looking at everything before I introed you, and I was intrigued with the art part, but Heather is a very renowned realtor in the Mobile and Baldwin County for 10 plus years, and then also has an extensive background in construction and interior design for 12 years previous, before real estate. So, and I did know that because you have such good taste, not only in the way that you dress, but I get to see your house now too.
Thank
Um,
you.
she is just as beautiful on the inside as she is on the outside, and you are such a true pleasure having you on today. And the reason that we decided to come on and talk was I've been super transparent about being alcohol free since December, and Heather and I ran in the same circles, same friends, always out socially drinking. And Heather reached out to me before Mardi Gras and started sharing with me her alcohol free story. So Heather, go ahead, feel free. Let's go ahead and
Hey,
start. And thank you for being on this morning.
good morning. Thank you for having me. Yeah, I was really excited. I started watching your story there on Instagram, and I noticed that you were kind of talking on a few points that I was like, "Huh." You know, it resonated with me. I recognized some of the things that you were saying, and it was some things that I had experienced. I guess it's been, gosh, it's almost a year. I mean, 8 months total since I decided to just say, "Hey, I'm going to stop drinking alcohol and see what happens." It started as a health journey. A lot of things were happening. A lot of things were going on in my body and my life.
Well, and
And,
and you also are a very much a health guru. I mean, you've always been in
yeah, big time. Yeah,
health.
now not so, not so much before, but I've always tried to be relatively healthy and thoughtful and mindful of what I'm putting in my body. But for this the social norm of drinking alcohol was a part of my life for 20 years, and so I've just been what I would call a drinker. Whether it be casual at home, at dinner with friends, I just drank for a really long time. And I would say probably somewhere around 7 or 8 years ago, it became more frequent. Just I was networking, I was in real estate, everything we do, someone's handing you a drink or offering you a drink, you go to dinner, and that's the first thing they do, ask you what you want to drink, bring you the wine list. So it really just becomes habitual.
Yeah.
And, and I noticed that I would say probably about 4 years ago, I started feeling the effects health wise from alcohol. And I don't know that I knew it was alcohol. I thought like, oh, I'm approaching my 40s and, my body's changing and things are changing. And I was in denial for a long time
It
about.
becomes normality.
Absolutely. And I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to know. It's like, no, I love to drink. It's so much fun. And, I didn't really have the effects. Like alcohol didn't make me angry, it made me happy, and so I always had a really good time. And um there was a point where I, like I said, was the health issues. So I started feeling a lot of inflammation in my body. My sleep was affected a lot, my moods were changing. I started having terrible anxiety. And so then I was like, all right, this is becoming a problem, like an everyday life situation. And I was having to figure out, is it the backache? Is it the neck ache? Is it the, is it the lack of sleep? I never would say, oh, it's the alcohol.
Uh-huh.
Surely it can't be the alcohol. Um, the alcohol, oh, it makes you relax. It makes you sleep better. It makes you more comfortable. It relaxes you so you don't feel anxious. And then I started doing some research probably about a year ago. And I was like blown away to learn just how poisonous alcohol really is, how bad it is for your body, how terrible it is for your brain function, your brain activity. And then I started focusing on my physical health, as well as my mental health. And when I dove in, I was just like, this is big. So I knew I had to take it seriously, and I couldn't just dabble in, oh, I'll cut back, or I'll only serve myself, a drink a day, or maybe 2 drinks a week, or whatever. I was like, no, if I'm going to do this, I need to go full in. And so May 1st, I had, I guess, a situation with alcohol. And by, I would say about June the 5th or 6th, a month later, I just cut it. I was like, nope,
That's
I'm
how I
done.
was. Same. Yeah. And it's so funny because, and I'm sure that you get asked the same question. People will come up to me and they're like, they would see me out and about being social, and they're like, I didn't know that you had a problem with drinking. And, I just had this question asked on Friday with a friend that we met for lunch, and and we've always had cocktails. And she was like, did you have a problem? And I'm like, not that it was a problem, but it had become a problem with my health that I just did not even realize. And like you, I mean, like, I've always battled inflammation. I've, being the researcher that I am, and in the functional medicine world, I've always known that alcohol is bad, but a little bit of red wine and it's good for you, and a little bit more is even better for you. And so it was always kind of one of those things. I didn't want to listen to it either, and
Yeah.
and we're always social and it relaxes you, and I had more fun on it, or so I thought. And it's the same thing. Alcohol was the culprit.
And I was afraid to quit. I was like, well,
It's your best friend.
am I going to be less fun? Are people going to want to hang out with me? Because then when you say, when you're in the functions and you're there, and you're like, no, thanks. I don't care for any, or I don't drink anymore. They're like, oh, we can't just have one. I'm like, no, I mean, I can, but I don't want to. And then it's funny to watch people, how they kind of go into their explanation of why they're drinking and how much they're going to have. And I'm like, you don't have to explain yourself. It's okay if you want to drink. This is just a journey, a choice for
Okay.
me. And I started that journey, and I took it very seriously. And I did try, after a few months, like I would try to have a drink. And I won't say that I'll never drink again, or I wouldn't indulge on a special occasion. But when I have said, yeah, I'll have a few sips of a beer with a friend, it's like 3 sips in. As soon as I feel any effect, I completely shut down. And it's just like my brain goes, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? This is bad for us. And it's not that I want to be drunk or um, overindulge in any of it. It just really was about what I was putting into my body and how it was affecting the function of my heart, my brain, my just the rhythms, my nervous system. And to think about it and to know that, like, it's not doing me any good, it's just very easy to say no. Yeah.
Well, and I'm so angry now. I wouldn't say, maybe angry is not the right word, but I feel like I missed out on so many
Yeah.
years because it's like, I didn't think that I was hungover in the mornings, but then looking back on it now and being so clear for the past 3 months, I'm just like, oh my gosh, the clarity and the perspective of everything is so much more clear now that I didn't have that for years, just like you. I mean, it was 20 plus years. And I don't ever mean to sound like I knew sobriety before my husband, and he says, oh, great, I'm the culprit. But it wasn't. It's just, it was the timing, because when we got married, it was just, we were partying, we were social, we were in our young 20s, and it was just a thing, like it was
Well,
just
we
part
loved
of
it. We had so much fun
we had
doing it. I
so
mean, the
much fun.
story,
Yeah.
it
And
was so
we
great.
had so much fun, and we wasted a whole lot of money. That's the way I
A
look at
lot of money, a lot of time. Well, and I know what you mean, that whole time is a thief thing, because you do look back and you think about, what could I have accomplished back then that would put me in a better place today, which I'm grateful, and I love where I am today, and I'm super happy. But it is kind of looking back thinking, gosh, I wish I had listened to anyone trying to encourage me back then, because I didn't want to hear it. And now that I hear it and I feel it and I live by it, I want to share it with other people, and they can receive it however they want to. If they want to take it and run with it, and ask more questions, and I can help them, I would love to do that, because it is a journey. It is a wholehearted decision. But I was worried, like, am I going to be fun, or am I still going to be myself? And I have found that I am so much better. I enjoy food more. I enjoy outdoors, sports,
Everything's
beach,
just
boating.
better. It's
It is
better.
better. I see things more clearly. My relationships are better. My relationship with myself is better. My daughters and I had a really long talk about, like, my journey and my decisions. And, I think there were some apologies that needed to be made, because, I was very unaware that they were young people watching me drink. And so it was like they were thinking, it's kind of like that, do as I say, not as I do situation with your kids. But they're watching it. And I guess the good takeaway was, my one daughter says, "Yeah, Mom, I've watched you and your friends party enough. I know I don't ever want to drink. I don't ever want to do that," because she remembers, like, the hangover mornings. And it's like me on the couch with a bag of Crystal burgers. And she's like, "What'd you do last night, Mom?" I'm like, "Oh, me and my friends just had a blast." This is my child.
Yeah.
And she's watching that. And, we laugh it off now. And thank God we can laugh it off. But I do, like, I told the both of them, I said, "I feel like I owe you guys an apology." And they're like, they were very grateful for that apology, and they were very understanding and accepting of it. But they too like to see the journey, and they like to see the progress. So if I can help them, especially, I have one daughter that is of drinking age, and she doesn't drink much, but she will. But my 17-year-old daughter, she and I have the conversation often about how she really wants to just not ever drink at all.
I love
She's
that.
like, "I don't even want to attempt it. I don't want to try it," because you could be and I'll talk about alcoholism, but you could be the one that has the gene
That's
that,
right.
like, can't put it down. And that leads me to when I talked about how I was afraid to quit. I didn't know if I was going to find out, to discover that I was an
That you
alcoholic.
had an issue with it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think to some degree you would say that, oh yeah, you could be defined as an alcoholic, but I didn't know if I was going to
It's
have
actually
trouble
called,
withdrawal.
like what you and I have, it's called alcohol use disorder. Like that's really the terminology that they use, because I walked away from it, no issues,
Yeah,
no
it was
tremors,
pleasantly
no
easy,
cravings.
surprisingly easy.
It was pleasant, yes. And I read I did all the homework. I read all the Quit Lit books, and Quit Lit is all the drinking memoirs and stuff like that that they tell you to go through and read. And I did the Reframe app, which I loved for like the first 30 to 60 days. I thought it was great. And I went through all of that, but those people, there's a lot of people that really hit rock bottoms. I don't ever feel like I hit that rock bottom. It was just a clear choice. And now, was my choice like I had wanted to stop way before Jason and I ever had hard conversations, and Jason being my husband. I say that just in case there's listeners out there that's like, who's Jason? But we vacation all the time, and comes with a vacation is, all inclusive resorts, and it's always a party, and
Bubbles.
we live at the beach, and you're traveling in lounges, and it's just always a thing. And and I think that you and I talked about this. We were on our last vacation. We're on this uber luxury yacht, and we just bought the drink package. We're like day 2, day 3. And, the night before, I'm like falling asleep, because we've been drinking all day long, and I'm like drowsing off. And the next day, and I always made a joke about this. Jason and I joke all the time. And I always say, baby, drinking makes it easier living with you. And it was a joke, but also, men and women, it's hard sometimes.
Yeah.
It's hard to live together. And so it would make things a little bit better. And so the next night, we had some hard conversations about my drinking, and stuff that I didn't want to hear. Just like how you just said, you didn't want to hear that alcohol was the culprit. You didn't want to hear it when people were trying to tell you. And he looks at me wholeheartedly, and he says, if I'm a trigger for you and it makes you have an unhealthy habit like drinking, I will walk away from this relationship after 25 years because I love you that much. And 2 days later, I'm like, what
Wow.
am I doing? And so it was just I needed to hear that, and I thanked him. I thank him still, but I thanked him a couple months following that, or maybe it was like 4 or 5 weeks after. And I said, "Thank you for saving my life," and I truly feel that way.
Yeah.
And he
Well,
said,
because we're coping with something.
"That's
Like
right,
we're all coping with something. And so oftentimes the alcohol becomes the coping mechanism, the
it's
security
true,
blanket. Even if it's just passing the time, it's helping you pass the time,
right,
getting through something. So those feelings, that relaxation or the partying with your friends or going on the vacation and overindulging, whatever it is, you really are. And that's anything. That's, in my opinion, my strong opinion, and people might disagree with me, but everything, the smoking weed and the CBD, it is, we're all coping with something, and we're
that's right,
all using something as a tool to cope. And when alcohol becomes that in your life, you're suppressing whatever the issue is, and you're just masking it. And when you unveil that, you remove the alcohol, you remove the crutch, whatever it is, you are forced to face it, and you're forced to feel that. And when you begin to really dive into the reasons why you drink, which is probably was the hardest part for me, because that was the big mirror, right? That's the big mirror that you have to look in, and you're the only person looking back. And they're very hard conversations. So I, being single and I'm unmarried, so I didn't have that person, but I do have beautiful people in my life, and I have had companions and loved ones that I've was able to have the conversation with that were like, yeah, Heather, we could see that.
yeah."
Um, but stubborn me was like, it's fine. And it really wasn't fine.
Oh, it's same. Yeah, I mean, and it's like as like I told him, I'm like, you saved my life. He goes, no, I just helped you get off the dirt road. And it's true. Like it was something I needed to hear. And I'd already started reading like Alan Carr's books about alcoholism months and months prior to. I'd wanted to, but like you, I was scared. Like I was scared to cut it out of my life because I
Who
was
am I going
coping.
to be?
Yeah, I was coping with a lot and I was afraid I wasn't gonna be fun. I was listening to oh, she was on an interview last night. I'll have to think about it, that her name, but she's a country singer and she goes, what is life without alcohol? And she's been sober for like 4 years now. And I mean, I can't even imagine what it's like being, in Nashville trying to stop drinking and you're in that scene every day of the
Uh,
week. I
yeah,
mean,
it's
but
everywhere. Yeah.
it literally is. I mean, even my northern friends, I'm like, we're at the beach and we drink every day. She goes, we live up north. There is nothing else to do besides go to the bar. She said it's a huge problem there too. So it really is everywhere.
Mocktails are helpful. I've learned that if I am in a situation where, and most people don't even know the difference. If I'm in a situation where it's a social setting and people are ordering drinks, I have a drink that I will order. I loved a Moscow Mule, one of my favorite cocktails. Love it. So I've discovered I do that, and this is not a health thing. This is just like a treat. And if you're in a situation and maybe you just want to fit in, but I just tell the bartender, half ginger beer, half tonic with a lime slice. They're like,
It's
okay. And
awesome,
a lot
right?
of times and a lot of times the bartender will be like kind of puzzled, like no alcohol in that, but they don't question and they don't say anything. And no one even notices that I haven't ordered a drink.
A drink.
And yeah, and it comes in the glass, and I just sit there and I sip. And I have found, rather than go into that whole, oh, I don't drink, or I quit drinking, or I'm on the wagon, whatever you want to say, I just order something that blends in with the crowd, and I just sit there, but I laugh just as hard. I think things are funnier to me. I
They,
think
they really
they
are.
are, and I'm much more observant, but I can actually relax more in a social setting now that I'm comfortable and I can find myself grounded and reasons to be there. I think for a long time, it was kind of a just trying to fit in. I was in this huge social crowd, like very, very big, a lot of friends, a lot of couples. We all came together, lovely people, wonderful people. But there were times where I recognized that I didn't really feel like I fit in. And there were conversations going on and things happening that I was just like, I, maybe I didn't want to be a part of, or I didn't just feel like I could relate to that in any sort of way, but just trying to get comfortable in this setting with these people, I would drink. And I think I would almost become more of a chameleon. I
Yeah.
was able to adjust better to the settings, to the surroundings. And that was me being fake. That was me putting on, trying to do, to fit into this social scene that I didn't really feel comfortable in. And I used alcohol to do it.
Heather, I did the same, and I'm making notes over here. It's funny because this is a year of no for me. I'm pretty much resigned from every board, stepped down from everything that I was doing, and you've seen me over the years. I've been out there. I do it all, and everybody thinks I'm this huge extrovert, and I will say I'm the most extroverted introvert you've ever met.
Likewise.
But I used alcohol in the same things. Okay, so like a lot of things I said yes to that I didn't really want to be there, and alcohol made it easier to be there.
Hmm.
And so now that I've said no to so many things in my life, and I'm only placing myself in places that I really want to be, and I'm focusing on being present and mindful, and I'm like you. I'm way more relaxed. I feel more relaxed now, not drinking. And I enjoy my conversations more. I enjoy being present because I'm picking and choosing. This year is a year of sobriety. Cindy is a lot of boundaries. And so it is really nice because I feel like I can be present in the things that I choose to do and say yes to. They mean so much more to me instead of me just trying to fit in and make everybody else happy and me being miserable and me having to drink alcohol to make myself more sociable. You know what I mean? Like that's
Absolutely.
where
And
I found myself.
the truth we learn about that is we were putting that pressure on ourselves. It's not that
Right.
the people around us
Oop.
putting that pressure on us. And I think there again, that's just another mirror that we have to look into. And everyone that makes this decision, has to look in that same mirror. And I think the why you drink is the most important. Like that's the big question. And finding that answer within yourself and kind of going back through where it all started and how it trickled into where it is today. It's important because a lot of people drink for different reasons. And whether it's just you're the casual drinker, you only have a drink on special occasions, or you're the person that just comes home and pours a glass of wine every day, figuring out that why I think is important because it is the level of, I guess I'll use the word alcoholism. Because if you're like, I don't think alcohol does everyone the same way, maybe emotionally, but physically, I think it's harmful to us all. No, even if you're just having a few drinks every once in a while or a drink every day, what it's doing to our brains. And I know you know a lot more about that than I do. But when I started learning what it was doing to just the neurotransmitters in my brain and how it was affecting the functionality of my brain and my thoughts, my mental patterns, it was scary.
It is
Um,
scary.
it
Do
was
you,
very scary.
have you researched Dr. Amen?
Yes, Daniel Amen. I love him. I
So
follow him. I read his book. One of the first books I read, I started reading books. I read like 7 books in 6 months.
yeah.
And because I was so interested, but change your brain, change your life.
Yeah.
I
He talks about alcohol is like the number one thing that you can do that will guarantee that you're going to get early Alzheimer's and dementia. Like it is it's imperative. Like he's like it's the whole gut brain relationship, and it is going to cause you some major issues. And
and
I can
look at
tell.
his
I mean, I can
scans. Have you
tell
ever looked at his scans that he
those
posts?
those
It's
spec scans are
wild.
scary. Yeah, absolutely
I
scary.
want one. I want to
Yeah.
see. I do. I
Well,
want to
well,
see.
let me know. I can give you. I
Can
can.
you?
can hook you up on that
We need
because
to talk about that. I
I
want
went
that.
through this course last year, and just it really is. Well, okay, so not just brain health, but I just posted a thing yesterday and I was reading it out loud to Jason, and he was like, because Jason will still drink on occasion, but it's a doctor. She's a functional medicine doctor, and I won't name her, but she posted on Instagram about how alcohol is rated as one of the number one carcinogens, right? And it's right up there with like asbestos, and um she named off like 4 different chemicals that we really try to stay away from, but yeah, we're ingesting alcohol in our systems, and it's something that we're not scared of, right? And it's such a huge cancer causing, especially like pancreatic cancer, breast cancer in women because of the estrogen levels that change, colon cancer, mouth cancer, throat cancer. I mean, she names off everything. Like, it was pretty intriguing. And again, it's what you want to hear, right? I mean, you can find 1,000 articles on the benefits of alcohol, and you can find 1,000 articles on the dangers of alcohol. I mean, it's just
Difference is like, it's what are you trying to tell me and what are you trying to sell me?
that's
That's the big thing for me, is trying to learn. Like, I want to learn the facts, but when I start feeling like you're selling me something,
yeah.
like there's some kind of gimmick behind it, it's like you lose me. But I like just the education. That's why I like Dr. Amen. I don't feel like he's trying to sell me anything. Like, he's really genuinely telling
Trying
us.
to educate you.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
let me ask you this. So in his course, he says about it takes about 1 year from stopping alcohol for your brain to really make a 360-degree change. Can you tell a difference from now, looking back a year?
Yeah, it was. I would say I cut back a year ago. I quit, to say, like, just the routine drinking. I quit in June. So what has that been, about 7 or 8 months now? And yes, I can tell a difference in my sleep, which I also incorporated a lot of like vitamins and herbs and stuff into my diet. I will talk about that too, the diet part of it. But my sleep patterns are so different. My skin looks better than it's ever looked. My hair, just so much. But one of the main things, Cindy, was the inflammation.
Yeah.
I
And
was
you
so
talked to
inflamed.
me about that months and months and months ago.
I called you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, gosh, Cindy, it was this time last year. I was on
Sure.
a mission to get to the bottom of this pain, because I do have, I've got the disc degeneration in my neck. I've got the SI joint pain. And I was noticing that this inflammation, it was just radiating through my body. And I started having like really bad rashes. I had an allergic reaction to tretinoin, and so I developed this dermatitis, which was so horrible. And trying to eliminate things, because I was trying to clean my gut and clean my system. But alcohol, it was the last thing I wanted to look at. I was like trying to cut out processed meats, and eat more fiber and grains and fruits and vegetables. And so, I stopped drinking soda. I actually quit drinking caffeine a year ago. um there was a lot of stuff, and it was just like it got down to the alcohol, and that was the last thing. When I really shut down the alcohol, when I stopped altogether and was like, I'm going to detox, it was like, I'm going to do this for a month. And I felt so good after 1 month. I was like, I got to keep going. And that turned into 2 months, and then 3 months, and four
They're the same
months
way
in,
for me. And that's
I
how
was
people that, like, if they decide to stop drinking, bite it off like a day at a time. And
yeah,
I'm not a big
whatever
AA
works.
fan, like, but one day at a time. Like, I do like that part of it, that aspect of it. But it's true because when I decided to, first I was just going to cut back,
Mhm.
and I had stopped for like 48 hours. And then I was like, "Man, I'm so clear. I don't want to go back." And then that 48 hours turned into a week. And then I had originally said I was just going to do 75 hard. And then I was like, I'm like you, I'm not going to say never, but I can tell you that my life is so much better being dry and having alcohol out of my system. I can't, like, I actually have, do you have nightmares about drinking? I have nightmares about
No, I do have anxiety about it's an anxiety because I told you I battled anxiety. We could do a whole
Yeah.
podcast on that. But for me, yeah, like it's almost just the thought of it is almost a trigger because I feel so good and I get up and I go to the gym every day and it just like I don't want anything to affect my routine. Because I think it's just a fear. Like if I have one,
I know.
not that like if I have one, I would lead to two, but even if I have had one, like I have had a drink since I quit, and the way that drink made me feel was not, it wasn't pleasant, and I
Well,
didn't enjoy it. So it makes me just say, I'm okay with not drink. I'm okay with saying no. I could
yeah,
never have another
it's
one
the
again.
same. I would say it's like anxiety, but I do have dreams, and I call them nightmares because it would be a nightmare. I like I just don't want to add it back into my life, and I'm enjoying my life, and it is so much different right now. But I'm enjoying my life so much more, and I feel so much. Even going for walks, like the grass is greener, the clouds are more clear, the skies are bluer, and I know that sounds cheesy. And if anyone's out there,
It
they're
doesn't to
probably
me,
like,
but
"What
yeah,
is
people
she
would say cheesy, but
smoking?"
it's real.
It is really, I mean, everything is better, and even sex is better. And if
I didn't know if we were gonna go there, but
I,
yeah, like
everything is
orgasms
better.
are
I
better.
mean, honey, if
Never
you're
had I ever
listening, I know
thought.
Jason's not listening because he never listens to my, but you've always been amazing. But there's a but, like being, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but my mind's always kind of everywhere, always has been. And like I'm more present and I'm in the moment and I'm enjoying him and I'm enjoying, like I really I kind of look at everything as like if today was my last day, I want to enjoy every moment of it, the smells, the touch, everything. And that's the way that I really truly look at everything. So sex has been a huge thing. I mean, like it really
Do
has
you
over.
think it is just the mental clarity along with the physical? Um, you just feel so good physically, and then you have that mental clarity when you have an intimate moment like that, like through sex. It just like you can really take it all in for what it actually is without having that mind numbing, body numbing experience that alcohol brings to it.
And it
But
was a little scary because I don't know if we've ever had, I cannot remember the last time we had sober sex. And so it's always like, like we go out and have a couple drinks and have dinner and you come home and have sex, but you're always a little bit intoxicated. It just seems like there's always a little bit of, or you're hungover in the mornings, whatever. And so I was a little worried. I'm like, what if I don't like my husband after going sober? But
and
everything
you like
is,
him more.
oh my gosh, so much more. Yeah. I mean, like really, there's so much gratitude and appreciation that I did not have before, that I didn't realize that was there, that was missing.
Gratitude is big. The gratitude is for me, that was probably the best thing I could discover is just how really grateful I am for everything that I have in my life
Yeah.
that's good. And that I
And
wasn't
it's a blessing that we went down that road just to be
oh,
where we are
absolutely.
right
Yeah.
now. That's the way that I feel. I'm so grateful that I went down that dirt road, as Jason calls it. But I'm glad because I think that just like having RA for me, I always say it's one of the best things that's happened because it makes me appreciate life every day. And I did a post about it yesterday, and it does, and it truly does make me appreciate life. But it's like one of those things that we're younger, right? And I'm not in my deathbed, and I'm not with a terminal illness laying there. Like I feel truly like I have a second chance at life. And I don't know if you feel that way or not, but it has been such an eye opener.
Well, and we're in the second half of our life. You know, we've ventured in, we're in our 40s now. So looking forward is different. It's different for me. And I want this lifestyle. I made these changes so that I could feel good and avoid, like you said, the Alzheimer's. This is a way for me to try to avoid cancer, Alzheimer's, dementia, and things like that. That when your body, like I started noticing, my body is changing, and I felt like, when I was 40, and that was kind of when I was talking about the inflammation and the aching in my body. I was like, I am far too young to feel like this. And that's when I started really focusing on my diet, what I was putting into my body, how it comes back out. You know, everything we put into our body manifests itself in one way or the other. And so if we're putting a bunch of crap, you know, a bunch of chemicals, a bunch of poison into our bodies, it's going to manifest itself in negative ways. And that was the biggest, like I said, we could do a whole other podcast on that, you know, the diet, but just when I got into ingredients and the stuff that we were eating in our food and drinking, you know, a lot paired with alcohol.
Yeah.
It was a big eye opener. So a year into my journey, I would say, you know, 8 months seriously into this, I feel like a new person. Like I
Amazing.
love that girl that was there before. I I hug her and hold her and embrace her, but I set her free, and she can go on to be the best version of herself. I wake up every day thinking like I'm grateful, and how can I be better today? So
Well,
when I think like that, picking up an alcoholic beverage just doesn't really
very
fall in line with
well,
that.
and Heather, you're so right too, because we get one chance at life, and I always preach this to my patients: is it's quality of your years, and if we're self-inflicting, and that's exactly what we were with alcohol, if we're self-inflicting an early death, we're gonna live a very miserable, unproductive longevity of life. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what it's going to be. So that's where my goal is. My goal is to make this vessel as healthy as I possibly can. So I don't have any regrets at the end. And I can say I did everything possible to make sure that my life was lived with quality and I'm as present as I can be. And I don't want any regrets at the end. I don't want to say, you know what, was that alcohol really worth it? Like, what was I trading? I was trading alcohol for time. Mm-mm. No, I feel like that's why I feel like the past 20 years, Jason's like, oh, we had so much fun. And I'm like, we had fun, but also my all or nothing personality sometimes doesn't
Yeah.
have, it doesn't
And the
have
memories are there, you know, we can
that.
have the memories. We
I
can
got
always
all
have
the
we can
pictures.
laugh
Yeah.
about the memories. They were good times. I still like I do laugh, and I feel joy when I think back, because it's just ridiculous. There was so much ridiculousness that went on in my life, and I'm grateful that I can laugh about it. I'm very blessed that nothing horrible happened to me, because it could have, you know, a lot of times bad things could have happened and they didn't. So I like I said, I'm grateful for all the blessings and the good times, but it's like, it's not what I want to take into the future. It's just not how I can learn from it. I can appreciate it. I can grow from it, but I definitely, you know, it's definitely not the future for me, because like you said, longevity is the goal, right? Like that's what we're looking for. And if I am diagnosed with something, I want to know that this body is ready to fight whatever, you know, the future
Exactly
holds.
right.
And if I'm just riddled with self-inflicted illness, you know, if I'm riddled with things that I did, um you know, I don't think that I could be my best self to fight that kind of stuff off. So
You're spot on with that, and that is something that I talk about. You know, so one of the things in my studying that I'm doing a lot right now, I'm doing some deep work, but it's birth, it's aging, illness, and death. Right? We're all going to go through it. And so when we are plagued with whatever disease that we have coming our way down the road, whether it be genetics or self-inflicted, you better have your body in shape enough to be able to handle it. Because if you're running high liver enzymes or fatty liver or anything like that due to self-inflicted issues, and that can be not just alcohol, but taking too many supplements or taking over-the-counter meds or anything like that. You know, when people say, oh, I'm taking all these meds and my blood pressure's under control and all of this, well, you're still taking meds to do that. All of that has to go through your liver. So it's going to increase your liver enzymes. And if you do have something that they need to give you a medication, because I'm not anti-meds, because you
right.
definitely need them at times. But if you have to have a medication that is hard on the liver and you're already running fatty liver, it's over.
Yeah.
It is over. You have lost the battle before you even started.
Yeah.
So you're exactly right. You gotta, we are a temple, right? Like you gotta treat your body as a temple. and treat it good. So let me ask you this. What did you change about your nutrition? Because a lot of times, and I hear this all, I mean, like literally, like people reach out to me every single day. I've stopped drinking or I want to stop drinking, but I'm craving sugar. Did you notice that? And how did you change that?
Cindy, I didn't listen. I got out of a relationship. I stopped drinking alcohol. I stopped drinking caffeine. I changed a lot. So I'm not getting sex anymore. I'm not getting caffeine anymore. I'm not getting alcohol. Like, so yeah, the body craving the dopamine was hard. So I was like, the gym was a thing for me every day. Had to go. it was it was a big thing. And the sugar, I would just try to balance it naturally. Honey, organic maple syrup, anything I would sweeten. So I cut out processed foods, only whole meats, only fruit and vegetables. Things, refined sugar, stuff like that. I started gradually cutting that out, and I don't eat perfectly. I do like to go out to a nice meal every once in a while without thinking about, oh, how horrible is this? But the more I started to eat better, when I do look at a menu, I don't want like I want like a steak and a potato and a whole vegetable, even at a restaurant. Like I'm not going to go and order the seafood fried platter and gorge because that doesn't taste good to me anymore.
Yeah.
But so the sugar part though, yes, I did crave sugar, and I learned how to balance how much sugar I needed in a day and just ration that out and just try to really stick to natural sweeteners like
Yeah, that's what I do. I do the natural
honey, maple syrup, stuff like that. I learned how to make brownies by using sweet potatoes, almond butter, maple syrup, and dark chocolate chips.
You'll have to share the recipe. That sounds,
Game changer.
I mean, there really is. There's so many options out there, and I try to share that stuff as much as possible, but people just think it's, if you cut it out that there is never any more pleasure. But that's not the case. I mean, there's
Yeah.
so many different things that you can do to incorporate it in. I never really craved the sugar. Stopping alcohol, I really didn't. My diet is pretty spot on. I eat for my joints.
Yeah.
But one thing when I was listening to a book and it was talking about if you feel like you have to have something in your life, cut it out, right? Like anything that you're addicted to. And I wouldn't say I was addicted to this, but I loved it. It was plain rice cakes. And I know that sounds so terrible, but it's processed for one. But it was my one thing outside of my protein, my fats, and my vegetables that I
Mhm.
treated myself to every single morning for breakfast. I would have two plain rice cakes, and I love them. But what I noticed was I would have residual joint pain, right, from like some damage.
Yeah.
And when I traveled, I did not have that residual joint pain because I did not have the rice cakes.
Ah,
And I started putting that together and I was like, it was the rice cakes that was affecting my residual joint pain. So,
because the way it was processed, and they put the chemicals.
yes,
Chemicals are awful. I
awful.
I do try to incorporate the rule: if you can't pronounce it, don't eat it.
True. No,
And
it's true.
there's
I do try to stay spot on with that. But again, I mean, I'm not telling our listeners like you have to be 100% Johnny on it. Again, moderation is key. Some people, like you said, some people can take it or leave it and do well with restricting. I never was one of those people,
yeah,
you know. But I think the nutrition plays a huge role. And I think that the more that you're deficient in vital nutrients and vitamins, the more that you're going to crave those sugars, you're going to crave the alcohol. So that's where gut health, everything is so imperative to make
yeah,
sure that your gut is balanced, that you're getting those nutrients and vitamins. Because what I see in the labs when I look at them is severe nutrient deficiencies. And then I can go through there and pretty much say, hey, Heather, are you having constipation? Are you having bloating? Are you having anxiety? And you're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. How do you know that? Because you have so many deficiencies in the nutrients and vitamins. And what what is a culprit in that is alcohol a lot of times will hinder you in absorbing those nutrients and vitamins. So it's one big vicious cycle.
Magnesium was one that I was introduced to. I never had any idea that I needed to take magnesium every day. That was a game changer for me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Starting on magnesium in the morning and at night before I go to bed, I think has significantly helped with just regulation, your nervous system regulation, sleep patterns. It's
Everything.
really helped me a lot.
Have you done any meditation or yoga or anything like that?
Meditation was hard. It was
Like,
really, it was so difficult for me at first because I am kind of like the ADHD kid, that my mind's always going. But I move so much slower now. And and thoughtfully, like I trained myself to do that. So learning how to truly meditate was a lot of fun. It was difficult, it was very challenging, but now I love it. Like I try to meditate. If I don't meditate like 2 or 3 days in a row where I like overlook or I get busy, I like my body feels it. And I like feel like my body's going, hey, hey, hey,
yeah,
it's
yeah, same,
so if I
same.
can get a good 10 to 20 minutes of meditation a day, that's game changer for me.
It was really hard for me. Again, my brain's all over the place. I kept trying to. I remember the first day I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, what am I gonna have for lunch today? And then I'm like, no, 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 back to this. And then,
Yeah.
hey, how am I gonna fix my hair today? Or like just the most stupid things. And I had
It
to.
runs interference in your
Yeah,
life. It's
yeah.
bad.
So now I feel like I had a friend that was visiting and I skipped like 2 or 3 days while she was here because I've been doing this intensive, like sitting and walking meditation. And I skipped it and I was like, I'll get, because your head does have to be in the right space for it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'll just get back. I felt anxiety building up again
Yeah.
in myself. And it just keeps me calm and it keeps me focused. And again, I'm being very mindful, like when I'm eating, slowing down, even driving. So many people drive from point A to point B and they don't even know how they got there
Yeah.
because they're not thinking about it. So just being super super mindful about that and just being just clear-headed is nice.
Clear-headed, I would say mental clarity is probably the the lowering of the inflammation, the skin health, sleep health, but mental clarity is my biggest takeaway from no alcohol.
So
I,
so
I my thought
if you had to
patterns.
give 3 tips of how to stop to get that mental clarity, what would you say?
I think for one is diving into why you're drinking. It's really asking yourself, why am I doing this? But if you could, like you said, back off is great. I think, and it just depends on the level of like your lifestyle and how much you drink and how often. But if you're looking for mental clarity, I think cutting it out completely, cold turkey, is probably best. And I do think that you need to, even if you set a goal, like a short goal, a month, say, I'm going to not drink for a month and journal every single day of how you feel when you wake up in the morning, how you feel throughout the day, when you go to bed, what you did that day. Like I got up and like I get up every day with the same routine. I get up, I make my bed, I get ready, I go to the gym, I come home, I fix usually the same breakfast, take my shower, start my day, get ready for work. So I think building those routines and taking the bad habits and replacing it with a good habit. So like I'm not going to drink, I'm going to get out of bed and make my bed. I'm going to not leave my laundry in the basket or on the bed. I'm going to put my laundry away. So just taking a bad habit and replacing it with a good habit, journaling, and do that for 1 month. If your life, if you don't feel better, then maybe you need to go a little bit deeper, right? It could be something a little bit more. But if you just want to tweak just some positive things, some positive changes, I think that's a great place to start. But that to me is so big for mental. It's just such a helpful way to start the mental clarity process.
It's
And feel your emotions. That's one of the biggest things, and I think that's why a lot of people drink alcohol is so they don't have to feel
they're
their
numbing.
emotions.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
learning how to feel your emotions is so powerful.
And
It's
I would say this, it was something that I
beautiful.
was so scared of, right? Of giving up alcohol because I didn't want to feel them. I would say it's probably the easiest thing, and I'm able to deal with things so much better now.
I think you become more powerful. Like,
Yeah,
I absolutely believe that I'm more powerful.
I agree.
And not it just within myself. Like, I think that I think more clearly. I can process. I'm not as reactive as I used to be. And I can think through emotions, and decide what kind of energy I want to set in motion about a situation. Um, that's been a big help.
I love that we're on this path together and that we've known each other for
I
so long and that we were on the drinking path before and the partying. And then we're both professional women and we're out there every day. And I love listening to your journey. And I loved it so much that you reached out to me. Like it meant the world because
Well, I've been seeing your stuff on Instagram, and I was like, I need to call Cindy. Like, I feel like we need to have a chat.
I
So
loved it.
thank you for having me on. This was a lot of
Hey,
fun.
yeah. So before we go, one really cool thing that I didn't know about you was that you were an artist. And so before we started recording today's show, Heather was telling me all about her nonprofit and everything that she does with special needs children. So Heather, talk about your gala a little bit and what
Oh
you have
yeah.
going
So
on.
this is Art City Kids it's just something that I host every year. And I just started doing this. It's been a lot of fun, but Project Outreach Gulf Coast is an organization that we benefit, but we bring their special needs kids from the program in, and we have what we call just an art day. And the kids come in and they are a part of participating in creating all of this fine art that we finish off, and then we auction off at a gala at the end of March. This year it's going to be March 29th, Good Friday. And all of the proceeds go to benefit Project Outreach Gulf Coast. And what Project Outreach does is it's a peer program where they take the special needs students in all of the public schools in Mobile County, Baldwin County, and across the state, and they pair them with students in the regular classrooms is what they call them. And these kids are part of their society. They're not, when I was a kid, we went to the learning disability classrooms. That's where the special needs children were. And this program actually keeps these kids engaged with the rest of their peers through sporting events, through, art, literature programs. And we really want to give back to them because they are a nonprofit, and organizations like mine is the only way they have to raise money. These kids do, they have like Shooting for Change every year, which is a big basketball program, and it's a lot of fun for the kids to stay engaged. So I like to call myself an artist. I would say a starving artist. But it is just something I'm very passionate about. So I like to bring it to the community and give back for these kids as well.
Heather, share with me when we get off of this, the website that they can go to learn more about the nonprofit and go into your event and everything like that.
Yeah,
I want to make sure that I pop it on the YouTube channel. And then also let our viewers know how they can get in touch with you. I'm sure that you're going to have so many people reach out because you're wonderful, but also for any real estate needs that
yeah.
they may have in the Mobile or Baldwin County, let them know how to get in touch with you.
Yeah, well, I'm with Roberts Brothers, and I'm on Facebook, Heather O'Shea, Instagram, Heather O'Shea Trek, and my email address is heatheroshea@robertsbrothers.com. But you can Google me; I'm everywhere. Yeah, if anybody needs any real estate help or just wants to continue the conversation about this journey, I'm happy to assist in any way. So I
And I'll
appreciate.
make sure to pop your info up on
Yeah,
the.
that'd be great. I appreciate it.
It's such a pleasure to chat with you. We need to catch up more often and maybe grab some coffee and just catch up on life.
Yeah. Cindy, before we go, I have to ask you this. Are you on the tea kick yet? The herbal tea? Yeah.
Like literally, like
A
it's my
gear.
most favorite thing. Before we got started, I was like, I need to go use the restroom before because I love tea. So
Yeah.
that's my thing at night. I do a little it's actually called Ticino, and it
Hmm.
has the prebiotics and the probiotics for the gut, but they have a dark chocolate. And I use a little bit of stevia in there at night, and it's like a dessert. So after dinner, that's what I have.
Yeah. I think that's a good alternative for someone who's like, oh, I want to quit, but what do I do? Is I have found that it's kind of fun to get into the herbal teas and the different flavors and mixing. I actually just picked these up. Hold on, I got to plug this place. This is a little place out of Naples. It's the Spice Tea Exchange.
Oh, we have one down here. Did you know
Do
that?
we? Oh, that's so
Oh,
exciting.
yeah.
This
So
is
they're
the
at the
Blue
wharf.
Raspberry Crush, and this one right here is my personal favorite. This is like Chef's Kiss banana nut muffin.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so look, you got to check this out. Okay, so I got this in Czech Republic. This is like my most favorite part of my day. So it holds about 4 cups of tea, and you put your loose leaf just like you had in this little basket. See this?
Mhm.
And it just sits there and it steeps and it stays in the water and it steeps for like 10 minutes. And I sit here and I have like 4 cups of tea, read, journal. It's the best part of my day.
Yeah. So if people are trying to quit, replace your wine night with your herbal tea night. It's so much fun.
Maybe we'll have an herbal tea night,
Oh,
like a
an
girls'
herbal
night,
tea, like not a wine tasting, but an herbal tea
herbal tea
tasting.
tasting. I like it. Yeah, I like
Great.
it.
Cindy,
We'll
thank
have
you
to do
so
that.
much for having
Hey,
me on.
it's such a pleasure to have you, and I'm super proud of you. You look amazing, and you're always wonderful.
Thank you. Well, I'm proud of you as well, and I've enjoyed your journey.
Thanks, girl. I'll talk to you
All right.
soon.
Have a good day.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.